Yo, what's going on YouTube? I'm Germ here. Today we have some big news coming out of the LEC, and some of it is unfortunately going to be some pretty bad news for Rekkles. So, as you guys can see up on the screen, the first story I wanted to talk about is really important and actually a big pickup, even involving the LEC in general, just a big shakeup in terms of LEC players. Alejandro Gomes tweets out, sources, Trimby has reached a verbal agreement with Fnatic in the LEC. Koi's support will compete with Fnatic next summer split. So, obviously we know that Fnatic has potentially been looking at some new supports. I'm not sure if exactly Advian wanted to leave or Fnatic wanted to move on from Advian or what, but we did hear that Advian was potentially linked to some other teams like Koi, which obviously meant potentially Fnatic was going to be going with a new support. Maybe it's just because Trimby was available that they were interested in Trimby. Maybe they were interested in other supports. I don't know for sure. I don't know if we've heard the whole story yet, but Trimby is officially gone from Koi and moving to Fnatic, which is a big shakeup because Trimby at his best has been, an LEC all-pro caliber support. He's been a guy that's won an LEC championship. He's been a guy that's gone to Worlds and done okay at times. Trimby at his best is truly a top-tier LEC level / borderline international level support. Now he hasn't necessarily been at his best all the time over the past couple splits, but Fnatic is getting a player with a very high ceiling, which I think is exciting. I think that's good for the org. He's definitely, like I said, at his best, one of the best supports. Now, this was very strange because last time we talked about this, we had, Comp tweeting out like what or whatever. Like he didn't even know that potentially Koi was going to be getting rid of Trimby. Obviously, Trimby and Comp have been laning together for a couple years now. And also we had Koi's general manager or whatever tweeting out kind of bashing on Alejandro and Wooloo and all these guys, making fun of them, acting like some of the rumors were false or not true or whatever. But then this move ends up happening. I know a lot of people are going to be kind of scratching their head. I know a lot of people are going to be upset. I think Koi fans overall are going to be pretty upset because I don't think people were necessarily thinking Trimby was all that big of an issue, or that Trimby wasn't going to be able to bounce back, or that Trimby wasn't going to be good. Like I said, even though he hasn't necessarily been at his very best all the time over the past couple splits, I still think even at his worst, he's at least decent. And I think there's still the hope and potential that he's going to be able to bounce back. In this article from Alejandro, we got a little bit of extra news. According to sources close to Blix, Trimby has reached a verbal agreement to compete under Fnatic in the summer split. Trimby has verbally agreed with Fnatic for a one-split deal. So that is making it sound like that obviously Trimby is going to be a free agent after this split. It seems like we'll see what happens in summer, and then it seems like him and Fnatic will be able to decide what is going to happen with each of them going forward. We'll have to see what's happening there. But depending on how Fnatic and Trimby do, we could be talking about Trimby as, potentially a very big name free agent this offseason that's going to have a lot of potential suitors and have a very interesting kind of free agent market. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out on. Obviously, as Alejandro reports, that is just a one-split deal between the parties there. Now, obviously, this leaves Koi's support position open, and we know that Koi was looking at a couple of different people. We had heard, Koi was looking at Advian. Like I said, obviously, we saw that Koi was looking at a guy like Zolas, I think is his name, for the LDLC support. And we also heard that obviously they were looking at Rekkles as that third option. So now that Advian is out of Fnatic, this leaves another guy that Koi is potentially going to be going after. That leaves more competition for Rekkles. It makes it a little bit more interesting to see exactly what's going to happen. And then we also got this update from Alejandro that sources Advian has reached a verbal agreement with Koi and will be the new support of Ibai's organization. So this is very interesting. Ultimately, it ends up pretty much being a trade, and I think maybe they even did just do a trade of Advian for Trimby. So now he's going to be the new support of Koi, and I think if you're a Fnatic fan, you got to be pretty happy about this overall. Like I said, Trimby hasn't necessarily been at his absolute peak over the past couple splits. But I think most people would take Trimby over Advian. Now, Advian at his best is fine. Advian at his best is good. He's very solid. But I do not think, and I think most people don't think, that Advian necessarily has the ceiling of Trimby. Now, you could argue that, hey, maybe Advian is going to be a little bit more consistent, or maybe you're just looking to shake things up at Koi, or maybe Advian's going to work over there for X, Y, and Z reasons. I don't know. But to me, Koi breaking up the bot lane of Comp and Trimby that have been playing together and getting a player with a lower overall ceiling in Advian compared to Trimby seems like a very weird trade to me. And, Fnatic always makes a lot of kind of weird roster decisions, and people always question the management and all this stuff. But to me, this does seem like a pretty big overall win for Fnatic and a pretty big overall L for Koi. I don't really understand. But we can dive into this article a little bit too. According to sources close to Blix, Advent has reached a verbal agreement with Koi to be their new support. The org had looked at Zolas and Swordart as well, and Rekkles. Swordart, I forgot about him. They were considering that, but apparently they ended up going with Advent for whatever reason. Koi apparently was very, very interested in Zolas, but due to the large buyout the org was asking for, the deal cannot be made. So apparently, LDLC is trying to get some decent chunks of money for some of their top tier players, which I don't blame them. But it also does suck, for Zolas, where he has a potential LEC opportunity he has to miss out on because his org, is looking for too much money or whatever. And of course, there's just not a lot of money to go around in esports right now, especially as things just kind of keep getting worse and worse economically and financially for so many of these teams. But finally, they've chosen Advent to be the new support. After almost 3 years in the team together, players have lost trust in Trimby, and it was time for a change. That kind of makes it look like some of the players on the team were maybe looking for Trimby to be moved on from. Obviously, it doesn't sound like Comp is one of those, but maybe some of the other players, I don't know. This was already discussion in 2022, as I said, but people wanted to give him another chance, and it did not work out. Now, again, this is really weird because we had the Fly guy, the Koi GM, acting like, oh, we weren't gonna move on from Trimby. Oh, this is all bullshit, fake news, whatever. Like, okay, I told you guys that guy's a weirdo. He kind of seems like an idiot. I don't know. I wouldn't really read into his tweets and stuff too much because now ultimately they do end up moving on from Trimby. And Alejandro and Wooloo obviously have a very, very good track record and really have not got all that much stuff wrong as of late. He does say that they reached out to Koi and they refused to comment on the situation. So yeah, that's kind of the latest of the support swap between Koi and Fnatic, which in itself I think is a really, really big deal. But also when you look at the Rekkles situation, it's obviously pretty bad news for him because Koi was one of the teams interested in Rekkles as a support. And now that Koi has a support, I think it's going to be really, really hard for Rekkles to find a team for Summer Split. And I don't know what Rekkles is going to do. I don't know if he's going to consider ERL offers. I don't know if he's going to take a split off and just grind his support. And I don't know, maybe he's going to be able to find an LEC team actually, because obviously between spring and summer, it's just really hard to find a team in general. And now if one of the teams that is interested in you doesn't even find a spot for you, it's going to get a lot harder. So, there's all the different teams, you can argue over which teams are maybe going to be more interested or not interested or whatever. But obviously it seemed like so far the main team that we've heard as a potential suitor for Rekkles was going to be Koi. Rekkles is making a role swap in between some, the spring and summer split where he doesn't even have as much time to scrim and ramp up and get ready. So I would not blame teams at all if they think, hey, maybe he's not potentially ready to go as a support by the summer split, if they're even interested in him as a support in general in the first place. So I don't know. I think it's going to be really, really rough. But again, up to this point, we have not heard of any other teams as potential, landing spots or rumor places for Rekkles or whatever. So we'll have to see what happens. But again, one of the teams being interested in him now having their starting support lined up is definitely not great news for Rekkles, not a great sign. And at this point, I would not totally be shocked at all if we do not see him in the LEC in the summer split. Again, whether that means ERLs or just sitting out or maybe LCS, who knows? But we'll have to wait and see. But that's pretty much everybody's video today, guys. Hopefully I catch you in the next one. Until then, peace.